Hi everyone, my name is Eric and I'm the developer of an upcoming action platforming game called GB Rover, which is a game about shooting your bosses and fighting for a better world. And the past week has been interesting on like several layers of interesting, and let's just get into it and talk about like what I planned on doing and what I did and how everything went and all the obvious stuff. So as I said, like depending on how the vaccine side effects shake out, I wanted to look into possibly extending some of GB Rover's stages, because I've felt like some were a bit short, and I kind of wanted to look into ways to make the game a bit longer without really having to create whole new stages and sets of enemies and boss fights and all that stuff. And I felt like I found a good middle ground in that I would try and see if I could extend the existing stages, add mini boss fights to them, and see how this feels, and if this is would be an approach where the stages themselves still feel good, in terms of length, and not that they overstay their welcome, while also adding a bit more variety to the game itself, and and that was kind of a part of how I set out to plan the game, and how I ended up being a bit different. So I planned on starting to make the sprites of all enemies for every single stage extension last week, and then put them in the game. But I did things a bit differently. Because I felt in order to really figure out if I actually would like to extend this all stages, maybe I should just do it for one stage and then decide if I want to go on with that or don't go on with that, so that I'm a bit more efficient with my time usage. So what I did instead, after being down and out on Tuesday from COVID vaccine side effects, was that I've on Wednesday I sat down and built I essentially extended the cadence exaltation stage completely, as far as I recall. I don't know if I maybe I did the actual stage extension the day after. I think I might have done it on Thursday. Anyway, I did it and it felt really nice. It felt like I finally had enough space to actually push the stages gimmick into a state where it felt actually there was some kind of progression, and not okay, these are two sections where the platforming might be a bit different, and one of them is even just optional, so it's not actually all that different and interesting and all that. So it was kind of nice to have a bit more space. It also got a bit harder. There's one section that is kind of tricky to do, but I felt okay having that section in there in the end, because it's right after the checkpoint, so you'll even if you die a lot, you quickly get there again. So it should be possible for most people to get past that fairly quickly. I have to see in the end if that's true or not, but at some point I got past this without getting hit, so I felt it was okay. By the way, if you're interested in seeing a bit more detail about that work, I did a very, very long development stream on Saturday, and the archive is up on the YouTube channel as well. So if you want to watch that, and at least take a look at the at the beginning, I played the stage that I did earlier last week, and then I spent the rest of the stream building the second stage extension for the stage of vintage perspective, which took a while, I was incredibly exhausted by the end, but I was really happy with the final result. And I played through the game again yesterday, I think, and timed it. And I think right now the game is around the problem is I forgot how long it took me the last time that I played it, but I think it should be between 4 and 8 minutes longer right now, roughly. So considering that there's at least 2 more stages to extend left, I'm thinking about possibly 3 stages. So there's like a bit more like stuff to come, and then I think the game is at a length where I feel happy with. The thing is that I also don't want to push it too much, because I don't want to feel the game like it's exhausting to play, and I kind of want to like keep it at least to some degree shorter to some extent. So that's like a thing I want to keep in mind. This also like goes like into the next thing. Like during the stream, I kind of had the idea of maybe adding an option for people to play the shorter stages instead of the longer stages. But I don't think that I'll end up doing those. By the way, this is what I planned for this week. It's not like very complicated. So like I was thinking about maybe like adding an option to like let you play the shorter stages instead, but I'm probably not going to do that for several reasons. First of all, right now, like what I have planned is, so each extended stage has a mini boss fight. The mini boss fight is going to be optional. So you theoretically you can just walk past them and like exit through the door on the right and don't have to fight them. What I want to do though is that like if you fight and defeat all of the 4 mini bosses that like will be in the game by the end, you'll get like an additional like boss fight before you start the final set of stages, where you'll get an additional extra weapon. That's kind of planned. I'll have to see how well it works, but that's right now is like the idea behind it. The problem with like offering shorter stages as an option is then that those shorter stages don't have the mini boss fights to them, meaning that you won't get that boss fight. Like, I mean, I could probably maybe edit, but like then the kind of the pacing and explanation why you fight that boss by like at that point isn't really there. And I also don't want, and I could say, yeah, well then you don't fight that optional boss, but what I don't want to do is like put options in the game that could make the game easier to approach that lock away content on the other end. So I mean, and that also goes for extending stages. Like if you say, I mean, you're like saying it to yourself, okay, I want to play shorter stages, so it's like in that regard you kind of expect that part of the content will be different, but then also saying, yeah, and like you won't see the boss at that, like won't get access to an extra boss fight or whatever, kind of felt weird. And also like this would kind of require me to extend every stage, and I don't want to do that as well, because like for example the first stage of the final set of stages feels really good to play, and I don't see a reason to extend that stage, nor do I see a reason to make it shorter. I'm probably going to extend the second and the third final stages, but not the first one, because it's good the way it is. And having like some stages not be extended and be the same in both, like after it's like this like starts to get to a point where it's like very weird and like kind of confusing what this actually means at some point, so I'm not going to bother with it. What I probably will do though is have these shorter stages that I still have like be part of the demo version that I'm going to like use for the Steam Next Fest, because this way I can basically show off more different stages while like still having like some part of it like without offering people basically half of the game at that point, because like it's a weird thing. Like GB Robo isn't that long, so if you're doing a demo, like how are you going to like I can't just like put the game there like completely and for free and let people play it, because then that kind of would defeat the purpose of like making and selling the game at that point. So I have to like think about a way to like find a good middle ground basically, and I think like offering the shorter stages and saying yeah these are stages that are like 50% shorter, or like about like 2/3 of the like size of the total stages, to give you an impression about like how the game plays, but like therefore, but you get like access to 3 of them instead of like just 2 or whatever. So that's kind of like the idea. I have to think about it. It's still a bit off, and I have to see how the next weeks go. What I found interesting again is to see how much like doing stuff for this game is like for me also an exercise in like realizing that the way I plan is right now always that I plan too much time for like a specific task. As I said, like like in terms of like where I'm supposed to be, like I should be maybe done with making all enemies. Instead, I'm done with half of the total amount of work that I wanted to do for the whole of August, and it's like just the first week of August has passed. So I'm kind of happy with that, but it's also like a thing where I have to see, okay, yeah, I have to see if I'm actually able to finish both stages this week, because one stage would require a bit more work than the other. So I have to see. Also, like I don't want to push myself that much as I did last Saturday, because that wasn't all that healthy, all things considered, and I don't want to like do this when there isn't any need to. Like I don't have to push myself that hard right now, and so there's no need for it. So yeah, but that's kind of like just the idea. Finish these 2 stages and like see how it feels. Like play through the game, then like extend probably like the like second final stage and the third final stage, just because like the second final stage I think really needs an extension, because it also barely uses the stage gimmick. Like there are like 2 screens and 1 optional screen that uses it, and I think that I can push it a bit more, especially after I also like created a bunch more enemies. I think I have like after that point I have like enough stuff that I could like build something interesting out of that. So that's definitely planned. And the third final stage is also like something, because it's very short, like it's half the length of a usual stage, so I can make it a bit longer and have you fight a few more enemies in there. And then have you like fight the boss fight in there. So yeah, that's kind of it. Like for this week, it's not a lot. It's still like almost 20 minutes of talking, but yeah. So that's what's planned for the week. There's also like stuff going on like with like possible console publishers. I don't know like how the talking will go on that end, but there is talking happening, and I'm like very yeah, kind of glad that like at least I managed to got like one of my games like that far, like let's say it this way. I don't know what happened, like what comes out of this. I'm very like I'm not going to like be incredibly sad if like things don't check out or whatever, but it would be cool to get a game on a console. But that's like a thing on the side. Yeah, and aside from that, as always, you can follow @Mokograd on Twitter if you want to see more updates. Subscribe to the email newsletter if you want just like infrequent updates, but like larger announcements like, hey, there's a new game coming, or like stuff like that. And obviously subscribe to the to this YouTube channel if you like want to keep up to date with that. There's like also like I'm going to upload the development streams that I'll usually do on the weekends over there, so if you want to watch that, you can do that, like do those as well on the YouTube channel if you can't catch them live, which is perfectly fine. And yeah, please wishlist GB Robo on Steam, that would be great. Again, still like about like 2 months, a bit more than 2 months before the game comes out, but things are moving along very well. I'm really happy about the state the game's in. It feels really nice to play, and I still have so much more time to add small details and like work on the fringes of stuff and like make it the best version as like it can be, and that's great. So yeah, anyway, thanks very much for watching, and have a nice week, and see you soon. Bye.